just to be very relational in most of our things. So I'm going to hand it off to some of you to talk about some of the things that they did.
Oh, there it is. Good job, Rob. All right. Hi, y'all. I'm Corbin. Out of the many things I did on mission trip, one that stands out to me would be I went on a ministerial visitation with one of our PPM leaders, Praying Pelicans. He is a former pastor, and we went to a man's house. It was me and Devin. Devin, do you want to come stand next to me so that you can help tell this story? All right. So his name was George. George and his family so they originally lived in India. They moved to Dubai because of their faith, and they were being persecuted. Then they moved here to Canada because in Dubai they were being persecuted for their faith again. So he'd been about 4 months ago, back in June, so 6 months ago, he was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer. The Canadian doctors had basically told him, it's over. There's nothing else we can do. You're going to die. So he sent his test results back to doctors in Dubai, and they said, no, that there is a chance. So when we met George, he had just heard that he might survive, that there was a chance, but he had to go to the Canadian doctors and get approved for the medication that the Dubai doctors had said could help him. So we met George and his family, and in this time of need. Devin, do you want to talk a little bit?
Well, hi, I'm Devin, and it was just more, I guess, hearing about how in the Bible you hear about people getting persecuted, and you, I guess, don't actually really see it or hear about it. So going somewhere and talking to people who it had been just kind of, I guess, was an eye-opening. But it wasn't until we had gotten back, and it was like 2 or 3 days later, that the PPM leader had texted us that the doctors were able to start the treatment and everything for him. So clearly, we don't know how he is right now. We hope he's doing good. We think he's doing good. But I think, personally for me, one of the favorite things was the last night where we were at first sitting out on the beach doing, like, I don't even, formations, yeah. And then it started the wind picked up. And then we asked them, and they were like, sure, we'll go back to the church. And then on the way there, it started raining. And then we got back to the church, and it was about 10 o'clock, and I don't think we finished that until midnight, but it was one of those things that it was a good time for the whole church to get along and get to connect and reconnect and get to see how other people are in the church.
I would just like to point out that the night when we went to bed at like 1 o'clock, I'm Corbin's little brother, I'm Coleman. Okay, exactly. I would just like to point out that the night that we went to bed at like 1 o'clock, that was the night before our travel day back home. So that was fun. Okay. This is my time to talk. Okay, one of my favorite things that we did, though, like on one of the photos you see, we're giving out food, and that was at a homeless shelter. And so basically we spent the first part of the day cooking all this food in the kitchen. Then we were going to take it to the homeless shelter, and Devin's mother and Miss Deborah put me in charge of cooking chicken. That was my favorite part. Just so y'all know. But yeah, and it was just a lot of fun there because we got to meet with the people and we got to find out why they were in their situation. And then I just told them God bless, and then they said, y'all coming here, it's really fortunate for us, and we really feel like that we're being helped. So that was very welcoming.
One of the other things that we did is we went to a senior center, and that really brought a lot of joy to them. We played bingo with them, and then the other day we played Uno, and not all of them knew what was going on, but they were having a lot of fun, like getting prizes and like seeing that they won brought a smile to their face. That was cool. Who are you? Oh, I'm Caleb.
One of the other things that kids did, and I think you were the only one with us there who's here today, but we painted a shed. We helped an elderly couple. We painted their shed, dug up trees, replanted trees, and just put things together and did tasks that they couldn't perform. So it's good.
Tell about how long that went on.
It went on for a while. Yeah, we did. It took a little longer than we thought, but
And also, it took us a total of 2 days to paint that shed. It took forever.
it did take, as painting goes, people who painted know. Do you have something you want to say?
Okay, I'm Deborah. I'm Caleb's mom and his wife. Okay. Yeah, one day we split up and we went to just different sites around the island, and we had a group that was repainting a deck and just doing general yard work, and then we had a group that was painting a shed that went on for forever. We had a group that went to a woman's house to help organize her book collection. She was going to donate it to a university. It had been promised to them, like her husband had passed away and all of his books were being donated. And she didn't know how to organize them. There were so many books, and so we sent a group in to just help her do that, which sounds like not such a big deal, but ended up being, very important to her, and just helped her get started. We had 3 girls there, and Karen, I think. So, yeah, it was a really neat opportunity. What else did we have groups doing that day?
Painted the railing
Oh,
at the
yeah.
church across the street, and we did a little bit of work there. There was a church across the street that we painted the railing and did just some kind of general maintenance work there. We helped at one of the members' house to clear some land. Then they made us burgers and hot dogs and stuff like that, so that was fun. Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was...
Who are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Devin's mom. I'm Ann. One of the things that was really wonderful about the whole trip is you're only seeing a fraction of the group that was there because a lot of them come to youth. But to see how they work together, there's a lot of differences amongst them and everything, but Amy and all the leaders are really good about dividing them up into groups so they can't kind of, as we would call it in our days, click up, and everybody has to be with everybody, and there's no cell phones and stuff. So to watch kids who have been tied to an electronic or just been in their special groups that they're always hanging with, seeing them work with each other and how they all go together and everything was really special. I bought, before we left, little Jesuses, and it said, "I love you." And so I gave them to all the kids. They each had, I think, 10 little Jesuses. And they were to leave them throughout wherever we traveled. I said, your goal is to get rid of the little Jesuses wherever you can find them. Just lay them somewhere. On the bottom I wrote some like, I'm free, take me, I love you, and just stuff like there's one that was left on a park bench. And we were just hoping to spread some word about, that he's around us anywhere and everywhere. And we have a great group of kids, and they work hard, and they love to have fun at the same time. Some of the football games in the parking lot across the street, I'm surprised we didn't have to make an ER run because that was asphalt. But they all played, had a great time. And it had just rained. But we had some good experiences, and it was just a great time watching them grow in their faith and be stronger, because they saw things that typically are not in the Frisco bubble. The homeless community that we served meals, there were incidents that made even the adults very uncomfortable, and our guys stood there and kept smiles on their face and kept sharing God's love. So that was wonderful.
Every time I go on a mission trip, I am reminded at how amazing these kids are, how they come together, how they will do anything that is asked of them. They will work as hard as they can. They want to finish the job. Every time I go somewhere with these kids, we get compliments about how great they are. Even at the airport, someone told my husband, Craig, "Are y'all on a mission trip?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "This is the most behaved group of kids." Like, we were waiting to go to the bathroom. They were just impressed with our group. When we talked to our leaders, and they're like, "Oh, if we have time, we might be able to do this. Here's a list. We'll just do what we can." And I'm like, "Don't worry, we got it all. We will do everything that you ask us to do." Because these kids work really hard, and they play really hard too. But they are amazing. I mean, it just, like I said, every time I go, it just renews my faith. And just, I can see how our future is great, because these kids are going out into the world, and we're missing a whole lot of them today. 26 people went on this trip, and but they're seen in a different way. You take their phone, and they complain for about a minute, and then they go on, and they are doing God's work the entire time, whatever God asked of them.
I'd like to say another thing. I think another good thing about the trip was just being able to, I guess, the fact that due to we didn't have our phones, we actually had to talk to people. And it was just fun to talk to the leaders and everything, and get to know them, and get to have an understanding of how everything had happened and what went on. And then we talked about Texas and speed limits, and that just...
They drive really, really slow in Canada. Like I kid you not. Every place we did, we converted it to miles per hour. It was 30. The entire... It was all 30 miles an hour. 50 was the highest we saw. Really slow.
But it was just fun to talk to them and get to see how they go and everything. I also enjoyed being able to stop and pick strawberries. Those were really good. That was a really good stop. If I could go back, I think I'd just spend my day there.
Also, so at the strawberry field, we each got our own little crate to fill up, but it was for one car group. I thought it was one crate per one person, so I filled up a whole box of strawberries. Then I went back and I'm like, "Where's another crate?" I didn't realize it was for everyone.
That is true. Coleman tried to import a lobster home. No. We would have been at customs forever.
So one of the things that I thought was interesting, because we live in Texas, we're used to being in an area that's very open to Christianity. Most people around us are kind of Christian. It was a very different environment up there. So I thought it was interesting people were like, why would you go to Canada? But it was, I think they call it post-Christian maybe. They're kind of over Christianity there. It's not a thing. So no one cares. The government kind of takes care of them. So they're not used to seeing a big church presence. So having us there, they said we were kind of injecting energy. We were trying to bring positivity. They were impressed to see youth out doing work because we didn't really see kids anywhere we went, and we were going into the major cities. So it was an interesting area to be in, an area that just doesn't care about Christianity or Christ. So I thought that was also good to get out of the Frisco bubble and see what it's like in a lot of areas of the country. So I think the last night we were there, we went to this, Anne of Green Gables is from Prince Edward Island, and so we went to visit some of the little touristy areas, Cavendish, and an area they tried to turn into Avonlea, which was some little old buildings that had restaurants, and we ate there, and it was delightful. And they had an old church in the little city center, and so I went by to look at it, and it was actually the church home, the Presbyterian church, that the author had attended with her cousins growing up. What a great historical thing, and there's all these people there to see Anne of Green Gables. And then, inside the little church, they had gutted it and put a burger place in it. I was shocked. I just thought, what a great opportunity for even historical purposes to just be like, this was a church that the author visited. But they pulled all the pews out. They were sitting outside for people to just sit on, and there was a burger place inside. So I think that was just kind of telling of how they view church there. There were lots of little churches, but they weren't attended. It wasn't a big deal. And in the area we were, some of the Christians had, like a previous group, had been kind of pulled aside by the local, I guess, city council and had kind of been made a bad example of. They'd said, oh, these kids had stolen something from a store, which they don't think had happened. They think it was done for political purposes, but we were warned very early on, don't go in that store, make sure you're on your best behavior. Like, people are using this, not necessarily for good. And so it was very interesting to be in that environment. Our kids did great. They were great examples the entire time, but it was also very eye-opening in that area. So I do think we brought light and some good positive energy to that situation.
Two questions. Apparently not counting the lobster, funniest thing that happened. And second question was, can you talk more about what affirmations are and why y'all do them, and maybe some of the affirmations that you got?
I can answer the second question. That first question, there are many, many contenders.
Just one.
Okay, so the affirmations we did, so it was something that our PPM leaders had done with every group. At the end of the trip, we were all gathered around in a circle. They maxed us out at 2 minutes because
They said
that 4.5 hours timed. So each person had 2 minutes, and the entire group for that 2 minutes would raise their hand, get called on, and you would say something that you liked that that person had done during the mission trip, or how you'd seen God in them, stuff like that. Who wants to tell the funniest incident of mission trip? I remember Jacob saying that he noticed that I did remember to do the church part of mission trip, which was I prayed for people and I did stuff like that. So the funniest part of mission trip was
for me, there's no winner. It's the lobster.
the lobster was pretty funny.
Okay, so here's another funny thing. So whenever we got around to yeah, I know, dude. Okay, so real quick. Okay, so I just like to point out So while we were doing, I think one of the funniest parts was Devin talked about it earlier. We were doing our affirmations on the beach, but then the wind started blowing and a storm was blowing in, so we all had to run off of the beach and go back to the church. Not to mention the church was on the other side of the island.
Adios.
I still think the lobsters are funny.
Well,
Were you to say something? For another day. For another day.
That's first.
Thank y'all.